Thank you very much. Look, and let me start by saying a heartfelt thank you very much to the Diggers and Dealers team, particularly Suzanne. You fitted us in. I know we're the graveyard shift, as they say in the industry, the second last, but they say they leave the best till last. So really appreciate everyone for hanging around to hear this story and what a story we're about to tell you. Okay, this is not about WA. It's not about gold. This is a bit of a step change. We're going to try and spice it up a little bit. We're going to talk about copper in Queensland and what a place to be. Okay, Queensland is, I'm really proud to say, is the leader of the number of mines, copper mines in Australia by any other state. It is the absolute place to be, and I think you'll see after this presentation that QMines is just leading the charge in terms of this consolidation around a brand new district in central Queensland, around our high-grade historic mine, Mt Chalmers, which you can see in the background here. So I'll talk to that shortly. But before I get into it, I want to start by saying what a time to be on stage. Copper just hit $20,000 a tonne, Australian dollars, for the first time ever this morning. What a great time to be here talking about copper. The other thing I should talk about is the fact that there is very few listed copper developers left. Okay, we've just seen Evolution take over proposal for Carnaby. We've just seen Austral make a bid for Hammer Metals. We've just seen Aeris take over Peel. Okay, there's no one left. Okay, QMines is in a very enviable position. We will be the next copper producer, mid-tier copper producer listed on the ASX, and we're going to take this through. And I'm so excited to say that as the chairman who started this business with a whiteboard marker and a pen, only 5 or 6 years ago, we're going to build our first plant in central Queensland starting late next year. So it's been an absolute stellar effort by the QMines team. We've worked so hard, night and day, and I've got to credit the guys who've been up before me. As MDs of listed companies, we all work incredibly hard to really generate value for our shareholders. So, and it's really great seeing some awesome stories here today that have replicated that. The other thing I want to say is that this morning, and this hopefully give you a bit of a feel for the QMines team. We're young and dynamic and we like to move, and I'm so proud of the fact that we delivered our 9th resource upgrade this morning. We've only been listed for 5 years, 9th resource upgrade. How good is that? So, we are growing, we're drilling, we're investing heavily in this area, and this is not going to stop. We've got 3 rigs on site at the moment. We're going gangbusters. And we're really delivering here in central Queensland. Another thing I'll talk to as we get through the presentation, that Queensland is just a hive of activity at the moment. And I've got to say a heartfelt thanks to the Queensland Government. They've just invested $15 million into our story, into our company, at a significant premium to the current market price. It was a great endorsement from my perspective. It took us 9 months to go through the DD. Just looking at how we actually developed this, they've gone over everything with a fine tooth pick and comb. It's so nice having a supportive government like we're seeing in Queensland to really develop a lot of these assets, which is brilliant. All right, so let's get into the fun stuff. Okay, so who are we and where are we? Okay, we are Central Queensland focused. We're a copper and gold developer, and we are the biggest consolidator in the Central Queensland region. This is a fantastic area, and I mean that, okay? Just to our south here, you'll see the Mount Morgans mine. They call it the mine that saved Queensland. 50 million tonnes at 5 grams gold and 0.7 copper. It was a beauty, okay? And we're certainly seeing those high grades here at our Mt Chalmers mine. We've got 3 projects in the region. You can see our flagship project is Mt Chalmers. We've got 4 assets, 4 deposits there. We're going to take that Mt Chalmers project through to cash flows, starting with the construction next year. We've since bought Devlin Creek project of a great company called Zenith Minerals, who are, I think, floating around this week. We've got another 3 assets there, another 3 deposits that aren't in the mine plan. And we've recently, last year, bought the Mount Mackenzie project, another 3 deposits there. We've actually got 10 deposits in this region. So we've been a very aggressive consolidator of the Central Queensland region. And I'm really proud of the fact that we have one of the best organic growth profiles in this small cap copper development space. We own all those assets 100%. We're going to start by mining the Mt Chalmers mine. We're going to start building that plant next year, and we've got an enviable organic growth profile there with all these 9 other deposits that aren't in the mine plan yet. So we're going to really grow this mine plan. We're going to extend mine life, and we're going to really grow the throughput over time here in Central Queensland. The other thing I'll mention here is this is a great backyard within which to build a fantastic mid-tier copper business. Okay, we've got so much infrastructure here. Rockhampton's a fantastic town, about 80,000 people. Obviously, about double the size of Kalgoorlie. So you guys know the activity that's here. It's fantastic, fantastic part of the mining community. We've got a similar story in Rockhampton, a lot of coal mines up to the north, so there's really great engineering capability, really great can-do mining attitudes. And so this is a great backdrop within which to build another mid-tier copper, ASX-listed copper producer. Okay, it's no secret. I think every single MD here the last 3 days has talked about, the secret sauce. Okay, it is called drilling. Okay, it's not rocket science. We've been going nuts. Okay, we've invested 80 or 90 million bucks in this business since I founded it 5 years ago, and we are continuing to drill out these deposits. Okay, we've just this morning, as I say, announced a further resource upgrade, which will actually be our 9th in 5 years. 9 resource upgrades in 5 years for a small cap company. Something we're so proud of here at QMines. This is not going to stop. We're still drilling. We've got more resource upgrades coming, more drill results coming. As I say, we've got 3 drill rigs operating right now on site, and we had some awesome, drill results, high grade, near surface drill results at Mt Chalmers recently, which we should be able to emulate further in coming weeks. All right, let's talk about this funding. Now, I don't know if anyone here has ever heard of a state government actually put money into a developer. It's new for me too. I've been in the capital markets for about 25 years. I ran a very successful resources fund. I've seen analysed a lot of businesses. I've never seen a government like Queensland invest in developers. They put money not only in they actually now our largest shareholder. So, I'm really pleased to say that we've had so much support there. They've really backed us in, and we'll certainly repay that in spades. That funding, importantly, will develop this mine here, the Mt Chalmers mine. It's now fully funded all the way through the PFS, which is due out at the end of this year. It's fully funded all the way through the permitting approvals process, which are well underway, and it's fully funded all the way to FID, mid next year. So this is going to happen. It's time to believe. This is really going ahead. Now let's look at some of the cool stuff. All right, so most companies you've seen today are talking about gold in WA. We are producing not just 1 metal, we're producing 6 or 7. Okay, and that's really important, I suppose, hint here as to why this is such a profitable mine. Okay, we've got that beautiful yin and yang when you've got gold when economies are struggling, copper when economies are really growing. We've got that strong diversification of cash flows that really, I think, underpins a really risk-averse business strategy. We've also got a lot of other minor metals here that are really going to add to the value here at QMines. Everyone's heard of silver, everyone's heard of zinc, everyone's heard of iron, but many of you may not have heard of a thing called sulfur. Now, sulfur is really important to places like Australia. It's used for the production or any production of any sort of food. It's used for sulfuric acid production. It's used for phosphorus for fertilizers and things. So it's becoming really topical at the moment with the Iran crisis. A lot of sulfur is actually generated from oil and gas production, and we've got a lot of it here at QMines, which will be another great commodity which will add more value to this opportunity. Now, why is this so special? And many of you heard me talk about this before, but when we sold our last business, we had a fantastic gold mine here in WA. We sold it to a large private equity group. We generated some really great returns in a short period of time for our shareholders. We started looking in Queensland. We knew we wanted to be in copper. We knew Queensland was the place. I looked at about 40 or 50 different assets, and this Mt Chalmers project was a ripper. Okay, 20 k's out of town, not 500 k's from the nearest pub, 500 k's from a railway line. This is so close, so much infrastructure. It just made a lot of sense, okay? The other thing that really struck me is the orientation of this ore body, and never underestimate geology when looking at deposits, okay? I won't get too technical, but this thing is flat lying, it's near surface. And one thing that really sets this deposit apart is, don't tell anyone, top secret, all the grades at the top. You know, typically you see these deposits, they're shear hosted, they're steep dipping, grade gets better with depth. We've got the absolute opposite here. We've got shallow, we've got high grade right at surface, and that's one of the reasons why we could bulk mine this. This will be really low on the cost curve. It's going to generate a fantastic amount of free cash flow for our shareholders, particularly in those first 3 really important years. It allows us to pay back debt really quick. It allows us to, basically give a lot of dividends to our shareholders. It's a fantastic, base load opportunity here for QMines. But we've also got a lot of upside, and you probably alluded to this in the first slide. We've got another 9 deposits in the region that aren't in that mine plan yet. And as I say, we're the envy of our peers. We've got so much growth here that's already 100% owned, that's locked in, that we can start to bring in out of cash flow once we get our first mine up and running. So these 3 deposits around Mt Chalmers are all within 1.5 kilometres of the existing mine where we're starting to build our plant late next year. And so you can see there's so much more material here to really, grow throughput, to grow, grow free cash flow and really scale up this opportunity. Now, this is a little bit old now, but you can see from this slide that 2-year-old pricing data, we've got one of the lowest capex of the peer group in the copper development space, $190 million to build that plant based on the PFS 2 years ago. But what people don't realise, and again, this is a bit of a secret here, that NPV has absolutely shot up in the last 2 years. Okay, copper's up 130%, gold's up 150% since we did the PFS. Silver's up almost 200%. Silver's up, I think 500 or 600%. I could keep going, but these metal prices or these NPVs are really, really sensitive to metal price growth. And watch this space. If you think this is going to stay at 373 million NPV, you're going to be very pleasantly surprised. It's really going to rip once that DFS comes out later this year. We will start with 1 million tonne annual throughput, but we plan as part of stage through to grow that plant. We're already making plans today. This is not going to stop there. We've already got stage 2 underway. We've got initial 10.4-year mine life. We're producing a lot of different metals, and this thing just throws off an awesome amount of free cash flow for our shareholders, particularly in those first critical 3 years. So watch this space. These economics are really underdone. Metals prices have run. This is going to make a lot of money for our shareholders. So, all right, last thing everyone wants to know is how long is this going to take? Okay, we'll have the DFS out first quarter next year. We're work on the front end engineering design. Approvals are well underway. We lodged our mining license many months ago. We are working on the environmental approvals process. It really helps confidentially that we've got the state government as our largest shareholder. So hopefully they can give the environmental minister a bit of a nudge. We've actually got Dale Last, a fantastic supporter, of Queensland Resources projects. He's the resource minister in Queensland. He'll be up on site next 2 weeks, which is fantastic. We will start construction late next year. So really exciting. As I said right at the start, it started with me and a whiteboard and a whiteboard marker 6 years ago, and I'm so excited that this is actually going to happen. So a big thank you to Diggers and Dealers. Thanks very much for having me. As I say, Copper Queensland, copper is running. As I said right at the start, the developers are being taken over. There's no one left. We're one of the few that are still going. We are absolutely motivated to see this through. We pushed out our 9th resource upgrade today. I'm so proud of the team. And copper's just hit an all-time high. What a great time to be at Diggers and Dealers. Thanks very much for your time, guys.